everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbaloe in Abuja. Let's get straight to it to everyone tonight, because so many things to talk about and so many updates that I have for you on the program. So I like to put them together in as compact form as possible so that you can get the meat of the matter. Well, as far as we're concerned, you are the most important in the scheme of things. So let's get to it, everyone. The federal government has been speaking on the situation of flooding in many states of the country. Today, after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the FG says investment is going to be heavy and master plan will take 3 years to complete and a 30-year investment period. The Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, made his known today during a briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo. Mr. Adamu says that there is no way flooding or floods can be stopped. He said that there was adequate information regarding the enormity of the disaster and states that will be affected, but the early warnings were ignored across the state and a lot of people were slow to act. Well, there are a lot of issues also that came out of that meeting, and part of which is the U.S. security alert that is making that country plan to evacuate some of the employees out of Nigeria based on intelligence report that there might be some terrorist attack. We get to that, but we'll deal with the issue of the election of 2023 in Nigeria. INEC met with political parties today, and a lot of major issues that were discussed. Frank conversation, I understand it was. We get to unveil some of these issues for you tonight, but first and foremost, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Governor Samuel Otom has said the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, cannot shut him up over acts of terrorism allegedly being perpetrated by suspected herdsmen who are killing people in the state. Mr. Otom stated this when he visited the victims of herdsmen attacks from Beji in Ukum local government area, where 36 people were killed. He challenged Mr. Atiku to show commitment to the survival and well-being of Nigerians whom he seeks to lead, instead of always rising to every opportunity to defend armed herdsmen.
Someone who is aspiring to be president of this country, it shows clearly that if he becomes president, then some of us are not safe.
The governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, is asking youths to take charge of their destinies by playing an important role in deciding who becomes the president in 2023. Addressing party supporters during the inauguration of the Edo PDP Youth Campaign Council in Benin, Governor Obaseki charged the youths to take advantage of technology and their population to ensure victory for the party during the polls.
When you talk about rescuing the country, you had the guys that are going to grab the message and say, this is how Nigeria should be rescued. And answer those issues, those concerns that we have as citizens.
Youths from the 19 northern states of Nigeria, under the aegis of Coalition of Northern Groups, have called on Nigerians from across board to shun any presidential candidate using religion or ethnic tools to campaign ahead of the 2023 general election, as this has a tendency to cause disintegration for the country. The group notes that the problems and sufferings in Nigeria today is traceable to inept and insensitive leadership, and is urging Nigerians to vote for a visionary leader. Ahead of the 2023 general election, Okun women from the Western Senatorial District of Kogi State have been charged to register with political parties for effective participation and be relevant to the nation's political space. The Vice Chancellor of Federal University Lokoja, Professor Olayemi Akinwumi, stated this in Lokoja during the 2022 Okun Women's Day.
It appears too early to say with a reasonable level of confidence that this is where the pendulum of victory will swing.
The Commissioner of Police at the Adamawa State Command, Sikiru Akonde, is warning political parties and their supporters against activities that may result into violence and loss of lives in any form. Mr. Akonde gave the caution at the government house in Yola shortly after meeting Governor Umar Fintiri in his office. He states that whoever is found disrupting the peace in the state will face the wrath of the law, irrespective of his status, as he assures citizens of their safety at all times.
What we should know is that a crime is a crime. Anything that is unlawful is a crime, and it will be treated as a crime.
And some members of the All Progressives Congress support group in Sokoto State have defected to the People's Democratic Party, citing self-serving leadership, lack of youth inclusion in party affairs as reasons for dumping the party. Receiving the defectors into the fold of the PDP, the state chairman of the party assures the new members of equal treatment, opportunity and support of all party leaders.
We are presenting this card to you as a new member of PDP. You will enjoy all the privileges that are provided in the party.
Meanwhile, another coalition of APC support group had earlier described the defectors as enemies of the party. The APC in a press statement said the defectors are sponsored by the opposition PDP, who had earlier attempted unsuccessfully to hijack the party leadership in the state during the wards and state congresses.
Thank you so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Let's get to it, everyone. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, today has met with political party leaders, and the commission is insisting that it will not jettison the use of BVAS, the bimodal accreditation device the commission has planned to use for the election. The commission also released the latest voter figures in Nigeria, some of which I will be showing you later on the program, the breakdown of how many people will be eligible to vote in the 2023 election. The commission released a timetable for the Kogi State governorship election, Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State governorship election, and the timeline released by the commission, which we reported yesterday. The commission decided to conduct the 3 governorship elections on Saturday, the 11th day of November 2023, and the umpire said that the party primaries for these 3 elections will commence on the 27th of March 2003, where April 17 will be the end of the primaries. So let's look at the tenure of incumbent governor of Imo State ends on the 14th of January. The tenure of the governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, ends on the 26th of January, while that of Bayelsa State governor ends on the 13th of February 2024. And so these elections will come before the end of the tenure. This is part of the plans INEC has. But tonight we're focusing on the 2023 election and some of the controversies. There are controversies around the rumors, so stories around the possible sack of the INEC chair, that the BVAS may not be used. Is there any of this true at all? Let's take a listen to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
The commission deployed thousands of diligent staff for the CVR exercise, and the vast majority of them discharged their duties conscientiously. Unfortunately, a few of them did not. The fictitious registrations were carried out by some of our registration officers involved in the field exercise and could easily be traced. Each registration machine is operated using an access code tied to a dedicated email assigned to a staff. There is therefore an audit trail that gives the total number of persons registered by each official involved in the registration exercise. In some cases, some of them made as many as 40 attempts or more to register one fake voter, and yet were able to detect the shenanigans. As a result, the Commission has so far identified 23 registration officers involved in this unethical conduct, and disciplinary action against this staff has commenced. We shall continue to protect the integrity of our voters' register. It is pivotal to credible elections. It is also a national asset and easily the largest database of citizens in Africa and one of the largest in the world.
That's the INEC chairman there, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Let's get straight to it. We have our friend, Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the INEC National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity. He's here. There's a lot of questions that he's always answering, and he's here. And I'm very sure that you're up to the task tonight too, because there are so many stories out there. And I'd like you to tackle them one after the other. Let's begin. Did you hear that there are plans to remove INEC chairman?
Well, we heard about it the way other Nigerians have about it. We read about it the way other Nigerians read about it. And since we heard about it, since we read about it, we've been focused on our work because the 2023 election is already upon us. And we really don't have time to waste. So we are focused on the conduct of the 2023 general election.
So the reason I'm asking this question, I'm not the one that is... I don't devote my mind to rumors because I'm a news, I work within the news sector. So what we put out there is fact and the truth. But what I've come to realize in politics is that what becomes a rumor sometimes becomes a story. A lot of the time, this happens in Nigeria's politics. So when you hear these kind of things happening, there have been times in this country that we have heard that elections are going to be postponed. Even INEC was not aware that election was going to be postponed, and elections were postponed eventually. And so when these kind of stories come up, perhaps some people have described them as a propped up PR stunt to give a feeler of what could happen. And I'd like to ask, is there any pressure on INEC in the delivery of his job?
Yes, there's pressure on the commission. There's
political pressure?
No. There's pressure from the Nigerian people for this commission to deliver on its mandate. There's pressure from the Nigerian people on the commission to conduct free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election. So we're under pressure from the Nigerian people, and that's the only pressure I know about. Let me make this point. The position of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is a very, very serious position, and it is a constitutionally protected position. Now, the process for the appointment of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is a very, very rigorous process. First, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria makes a nomination, which goes to the Council of States. Thereafter, it goes to the National Assembly for purposes of confirmation before it comes back to the President, who makes the appointment. Now, the process and the procedure and the mechanisms for the removal of a chairman of an electoral management body is also a very, very rigorous process. First, there must be an allegation, and that allegation must conform to the provisions of the Constitution. Thereafter, that allegation will be made to the President. The President will now approach the National Assembly, asking the National Assembly, the Senate in this instance, to remove the chairman of the electoral management body for infraction of the provisions of the Constitution. That is one. The second thing I want to put on the table is that Section 25 of the Electoral Act makes the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission the returning officer for the presidential election. And Section 25 names the chief electoral commissioner for the Federation, specifically in Section 25. And it goes to Section 152 of the Electoral Act to define who the chief electoral commissioner is as the chairman of the commission. So without the chairman of the commission, you cannot make a return for a presidential election. The third issue I want to put on the table is that if you look at Section 132, subsection 2, and Section 178, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you can say that the conduct of both the presidential and governorship elections are constitutionally circumscribed. And so any deviation, any attempt to move away from these dates prescribed by the Constitution creates a constitutional challenge, and we don't want to get to that particular direction.
There is no impossibility as far as the law is concerned to remove an INEC chairman.
What I'm saying is that the appointment of the chairman and the removal of the chairman and national commissioners are constitutionally
and before they can be removed, it has to go through the constitutional process.
Definitely.
So now the question is, and I'd like you to be truthful to Nigerians, because as an activist that you were and a lawyer you were before you got into INEC, a lot of people, your reputation was there in the public. But the question a lot of Nigerians would like you to answer tonight is there any political pressure on INEC?
I have told you that the only
pressure that...
No, just a minute. I've told you of the pressure I'm aware of. And it is based on that particular pressure that the chairman of the commission came back from a foreign trip on a Sunday, went to the office on Monday, and then on Tuesday, he went and addressed a big gathering of our staff who were being trained on the use of the BVAS and so on and so forth. And as you are aware, the chairman of the commission presided over a consultative meeting with political parties today. So we are under pressure to deliver. That is the only pressure I can attest to.
You are not aware of any political pressure to deliver on the election?
Well, for me, the pressure that the Nigerian people are applying on the chairman of the commission, on the Independent National Electoral Commission, on resident electoral commissioners, and all the staff of the commission can be akin to a political pressure. So that is the only pressure I'm aware of.
Okay, so now, I'd like to ask you this question, and this is more or less like a commitment that I'm trying to extract from you tonight. Is INEC telling Nigerians today and tonight that it will deliver an election that will reflect the will of the Nigerian people?
That has always been our commitment.
No, I'm asking you tonight. This is a new day and a new commitment that we're asking you as a people of this country. Is INEC going to deliver a free and fair election to the Nigerian people?
And my answer is the commission has never wavered. The commission has never deviated, and the commission has been working assiduously and courageously to deliver on its mandate.
All right, and I'll pick you up on another question. I'm asking this question because of some reasons. You know, internet does not, things never go away. They are there. And today, 10 years later, people will pull up some of these conversations, and it becomes part of our history, part of our progress as a people. If you rate from 1 to 10, how difficult or how easy is it to rig election today in this country?
I have never rigged an election before.
No, but you work. You've seen when elections are being rigged. You've seen election litigation, and you know the antics of politicians and how they rig elections. But you have told us that INEC will use technology.
Yes.
To defend the votes of Nigerians.
Yes.
And now we've been told of how difficult it is to rig election in today's election. I mean, in today's Nigeria. The question is, just how difficult is it to rig the election? How foolproof is it, the system that you have?
Look, the issue of rigging election is not the only electoral infraction that I know of within the electoral legal framework. Now, what this commission has been doing is that we keep on innovating, and we keep on being creative, and we keep on improving with every election. With every election, we learn valuable lessons, and we ask the question, what are those things we did so badly that we need to jettison and then recreate and do something anew? And then we also ask the question, what are those things we did but we didn't do so well that we have to improve upon, we have to upgrade? And then we ask the question, what are those things we did so well that we do not need to do any other thing? Those are the questions we ask. Now, if you look at the trajectory of our elections, you can see that at a certain period in this country, the smart card reader was the game changer. But after 2 electoral cycles, we felt that it was time for us to upgrade, for us to also add some new technologies into the electoral process. And then we introduced the BVAS. And the BVAS for us has been a game changer, has been a very, very useful tool in making sure that those who are engaged in identity theft do not near our polling units. So we are confident that with the measures we have put in place, that it will be difficult for people who buy up permanent voters' cards to get to the polling units. That too, it will be difficult for those engaged in identity theft to break into the cordon that has been erected by the BVAS and then vote in any election. And so for us, we are confident that we are putting in measures that will make it very difficult for people to go to the polling units and try to compromise the sanctity of the electoral process.
Now, we'll go into the details of the new figures that we have now and some of the things that were said, but give me an understanding of the highlight of today's meeting. What did the politicians tell you, and what was the response of INEC today?
Well, we have always been very upfront in relation to our relationship with the national chairmen and national secretaries of the various political parties. One, we gave them the figure of completed valid and invalid registrations, and they were satisfied with the explanations we offered. We also, as you heard the chairman say, we also told them that we have identified 23 of our staff who we believe engaged in unethical conduct and that disciplinary processes have started against some of these people. The third thing we did was that we also released the dates for the display of the voters register for claims and objections. And we told Nigerians that we are going to display the voters register for claims and objections on the 12th day of November 2022, and it will go on up to the 25th day of November 2022. So let me use this medium, let me use this opportunity to appeal to Nigerians to assist the commission, look at the voters register that will be, the preliminary voters register that will be displayed. Let Nigerians assist us and identify those who are not supposed to be on that particular register so that we can make our register robust, so that we can engage in further cleanup of the voters register. So these are some of the issues that we on the table.
Two quick questions before we go into those figures.
Yes.
One is the permanent voter cards. The INEC chairman said in the US that Nigerians will be able to collect them from November.
Yes.
What exact date in November?
We are still committed to the November date, but as I informed you, the display of the voters register will commence on the 12th day of November and then end on the 25th day of November. So we are committed to the November date.
What date exactly?
I don't have a date. The chairman will announce the exact date at the appropriate time.
Why is it difficult for people to track their PVC on your portal, on your website?
I don't get what you mean by tracking it.
So, I mean, Nigerians, voters, registered voters, should be able to track by putting the details of their permanent voter cards on your website. I mean, that should be an easy task. Before, when you want to register at a CVR, I mean, people were able to go to your website and able to find out the nearest voting points and all of that. But to track their permanent voter cards, whether it was ready or not, it's been difficult. It does not give any answer. These are some of the queries that people are raising, and they're being agitated as to maybe there are some things that are happening. You heard what the INEC chairman said, that there were attempts of people to steal identity theft.
No, there are three different issues involved here. If you are a registered voter, in other words, if you belong to the class of 84 million Nigerians that are already registered, you can track your data within in our database. Secondly, if you were one of those that registered with the commission during the continuous voters registration exercise between the 28th day of June 2021 and 14th day of January 2022, you can track where your permanent voters card is, and you will be in a position to collect it. But if you register between the 15th day of January 2022 and the 31st day of July 2022, the implication is that you are not yet a registered voter in the true sense of the word, because we have just finished the cleaning up of the voters register, which is still ongoing. So it's not possible for you to know where your permanent voters card is, because we are yet to print your permanent voters card, and we are yet to make these permanent voters cards available for the registrants.
So give us an understanding, if you can go through the figures now. I'd like my producer to put on some of the graphic designs that INEC released today on the latest figures that we have. And this will be some good news to the ears of the Nigerian youth and the young people. The 7.2 million new voters, or 76.5%, are young people between the age of 18 and 34. Give us an understanding of how many voters do we have altogether? How many are you able to weed out now?
Well, as at today, after we completed the verification that we have done, as at today, we have a total of 9,518,188. But the initial figure we gave in relation to completed registrations was 12,298,944. Now, out of this number, those invalid registrants stood at 2,780,756, representing 22.6% of the registered voters. Now, if you add this particular figure to the already existing 84 million registered voters in Nigeria, you now have a total registered figure of 93,500,000 522,272. But there's a possibility that this figure may still go down after we've complete the display of the voters register, of the preliminary voters register for claims and objections, which, as I pointed out, will begin on the 12th day of November 2022.
So this is where we are today.
That's where we are.
So since the BVAS can be preloaded, because the data that goes into the BVAS is loaded and is offline. It could be offline, it could be online. Is there a possibility of any manipulation? And what is INEC doing about that?
There's no possibility. This is because the BVAS will contain only the data of persons registered in a particular polling unit. So no BVAS will have data for 2 polling units. It will only have data for only 1 polling unit. Secondly, even if you do what you call a preloading, the BVAS must still authenticate your fingerprints and also authenticate your facials before you can be registered. This is because the use of the BVAS is not an option. It is a mandatory provision of the law.
And you will use it.
And no, it's not as if, it's not optional. It's not discretionary.
That is the only thing that you have to use right now.
That is the only thing, because Section 47, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act makes it mandatory. Not only does it make it mandatory, it also says that if there's overvoting in any polling unit, that the determination of overvoting will be done based on the number of accredited voters. And you can only accredit with the BVAS. Right. So it is final, it's conclusive, and there's no going back.
Before I allow you go, Mr. Okoye, just quickly, why did you decide to do the 3 elections on one day? Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi, why?
It's for convenience. We believe that we can cluster those elections run within a particular trajectory. And we believe that we can cluster the 3 of them together and conduct the 3 of them together. Because if you look at the timelines when their tenure will expire, one will expire on the 14th day of January, another one will expire on the 26th day of January, the other one on the 13th day of February. So why go and conduct one on the 14th, then on the 26th you go back, then on the 13th of February you go back. So we believe that we can cluster the 3 of them together and run them robustly and run them efficiently and professionally.
Thank you so much, Mr. Festus Okoye. I mean, very insightful conversation there about the processes and the hopes. Nigerians are very much aware. This election is going to be different from any election. I can feel it. I know it. And I wish you the very best. You people are going to be doing a very great job and a great service to the nation. And I don't envy your work right now, but I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okoye, for your time tonight. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, the federal government is reacting. They say, look, we cannot be stampeded by the United States security alert. But we understand that that country will be evacuating some of its employees out of Nigeria based on terrorist attack threats. We discussed that, and some of the soundbite have come out of the FEC meeting today. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Let's switch gears now and focus on security in Nigeria. The United States government is authorized in what has become a reviewed advisory of the security situation, which early came out over the weekend. And he's authorized some of his employees for evacuation of and their families from Nigeria over potential terrorist attacks. The report came earlier today. The U.S. State Department announced the approval of the evacuation in its updated Nigeria travel advisory yesterday evening, I understand. Now, the United States and the United Kingdom had, in the weekend, warned of a possible terrorist attack in the capital, Abuja, especially aimed at government buildings, places of worship, and schools, among other targets, where the federal government has come out to, well, okay, that is part of the statement of the advisory. Let me just read through again. There is an elevated risk of terror attacks in Nigeria, specifically in Abuja. Targets may include, but are not limited to, government buildings, places of worship, schools, markets, shopping malls, hotels, bars, restaurants, athletic gatherings, transport terminals, law enforcement facilities, and international organizations. A part of the statement coming from the United States Embassy in Nigeria. Of course, the United Kingdom also gave its own advisory. But the federal government, after the Federal Executive Council meeting today, had come out and said, look, it will not be stampeded by whatever any government decides to tell its people. The government was reacting to the recent advisory released by the United States today after the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, declared that the U.S. acts within our rights to advise U.S. citizens to go home. But Nigeria will not be stampeded by such warnings or action. Take a listen to the minister.
This so-called travel advisory, as far as we are concerned as a government, we have in the last few months taken a firm handle of security. And what I said is that clickbaiting, which is you find a story which is not verified and you immediately share it, you can always cause panic. But I want to reassure both citizens, non-Nigerians, Nigerians living in this country, that the security agencies are on top of this matter. Of course, the terrorists would not stop to try to embarrass or intimidate government. But what I'm saying is that this country is safe and there's no cause for alarm.
You heard the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, federal government responding to the terror attack threat and the alert given by the U.S. And some other foreign embassies here in Nigeria. Let's take a look at some of these issues and perhaps give some insider perspectives on how Nigeria can be safer and how we can maneuver what has become a challenging period in the lives of this country. I'm being joined tonight by Professor Usman Yusuf. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Professor is being part of conversation on how innocent Nigerians that have been kidnapped have been released over the past few months. And I will be joined later on by a retired military officer, Mohammed Adeka. He will be joining us virtually. But let's begin the conversation. First and foremost, Prof, when you heard about these terror alert or advisory given by this foreign government about Nigeria, now we are hearing that they're planning to evacuate their employees. What comes to mind?
Right. So the advisory of this government is to their citizens. And I'm really surprised there is no synergy between this government and our government. And there seems to be an argument between our government and this foreign government that said that are given this advisory. There's really no reason to be. There's a problem. Well, our Nigerian government, if these governments have sources ours do not have, they need to find out and coordinate. We are still the same people. I don't think the American or the British or any government would want to see trouble in this country. Is there security issues in this country? Yeah. Where are they? Nigerian government need to find out and reassure our people that the government is doing its utmost best to allay all these concerns. But government screaming and saying it's uncalled for. There are issues, find out what those issues are, and then reassure your citizens that we're taking care of this problem. But we should not dismiss any little insecurity. You don't dismiss anything. Any little thing you take seriously.
So you can't blame this government for those advisories?
No, they are advising their citizens. No.
They were not supposed to be public documents anyways.
They were not supposed to. If they became public, then there is a heightened sense of urgency What I'm surprised about is that there is no synergy between our government and these governments.
So, I mean, what do you make of what has become a rapid development within the space of when that advisory was given on Sunday and yesterday night? Now, it was for people to be cautious. The governments were telling their employees on Nigerian soil to be cautious of how they go about their businesses, whether or not where to go, and all of that. Now, within 48 hours, it has come to evacuation.
Right. And that is concerning. This is not the first time American and other governments have given advisories to their citizens. This is not the first time. They've done it. But to get to the point where they are saying evacuate, we need to step back and say, what are the issues? Where are the problems? Let us see how we can handle the problems, and the Nigerian government to reassure its people, but not to dismiss any little thing.
You know, Prof, why I'm a bit curious is I'm not sure, and I stand to be corrected, the last time any government had advised to evacuate its employees out of Nigeria within the last 3 years.
COVID.
Okay, but COVID.
During COVID.
That is global.
Yes,
I mean, that was due to the pandemic, not
absolutely.
security.
Yes.
So if this is happening, is there something, because, and I'm asking you this question because you have stand in the gap at several situations, so you understand some of the dynamics of some of these issues. Is there something that we do not understand that is going on for these governments that have high-level intelligence gathering system and techniques for them to now say evacuate? And now what a lot of people may not also be aware is I've gone to find out what was on the website of, especially the United States mission in Nigeria. They're giving a very detailed advisory up to the point of telling those who are planning and telling them, don't visit Nigeria now. And these are the states that you can, these are the situations. They've broken it down to kidnappings, to some of the crimes that are prevailing in some of the states of the country. And they've given very strict advisory on those things. So what could have happened just within 48 hours?
Right, and for me, it will be presumptuous for me to tell you or anybody that I know what's happening. No, I don't. Not even in the government, the security agencies are privy to intelligence many people do not have. Just like foreign governments too. They are privy to intelligence that not many people have. So what I expected is synergy and cooperation between governments and talking, instead of this government saying, oh, no. But for them to give advisory to evacuate, I mean, the last time we had that was during COVID and the chaos we saw at the airport. But it is not unusual. I've seen it several times where there are alarming advisories on the websites of many of these Western governments about Nigeria. And I have friends out there, they say they are not coming to Nigeria because you think the end of the world is coming. But yes, there is heightened, whatever their intelligence is, that is making them give this advisory. We should not dismiss it. The Nigerian government should work with these governments and see what are the imminent threats and go ahead and reassure our people.
I have a feeling, and yesterday I applauded the men and women in the security agencies in the country, and I've not changed my mind in that respect. And I still give my salute tonight to the gallant men and women in the different security system in this country. They are doing a fantastic job within the scope of their brief and within what is available for them to fight the war that the nation is facing. But, I mean, we thought that things have doused, at least in the last few weeks. We've seen a quieter situation in some part of the country. Things were way worse than these that we have experienced in the last few months. People were being kidnapped at free will, but these bandits were on rampage. They threatened the capital city. They even threatened the president, threatened the governor. But when this quiet came, you were involved. Give us an understanding of what really happened. We thought that maybe these guys are having a change of mind or they are subdued. These bandits and some of these terror, because you told me on this program there is a handshake between this terror network in the northeast region and in the bandits in the northwest region. What exactly is going on?
So you are preaching to the choir about our gallant men and women. I mean, I've been involved with the rescue of these last 23 train passengers for the last 6 months. I am one of the biggest critics of this government, this president, and this military. But believe you or me, this last 6 months has given me an opening, a window, as to the gallant men and women we have in this military that are allowing us to do this work, criticizing them. I have seen. We've been to forests, we've been to places we could never have gone without the gallant men, especially the colonel that was embedded in our committee. The first one in with his troops, last one out. Be giving us cover, going into the forest at unholy hours. And so there's no way we could have done what we did evacuating this last 23 without the military. The military patience is not in their DNA. We were literally begging them, please, 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 allow us time to be able to evacuate everybody and go do what you're trained to do. It's given me a greater insight as to the challenges they're facing. And to be honest with you, our military is, to be honest, one of the best I've seen. I have seen a military that has made me prouder than before I went in. And in the last 6 months, and I'm telling Nigerians, let us temper our criticisms of our military with some prayers and praises. We've lost men just for this operation to evacuate our people. And these are men that are sons, brothers, husbands, and sons. In this country, I have seen we still have a lot more to do. There are all across the 6 geopolitical zones on fire. Our military are taking casualties all across, just like they are inflicting a lot more. Over the last couple of months, Shehu, what we have seen is a lot more action, especially in the corridor I'm aware of, these bandits in the northwest. I have seen the data, I've talked to the people involved. There has been a lot more action here, and things have quietened down compared to what they were before. But like I said, no general will go home and sleep. We got work to do. A lot more work to do.
So these bandits are not backing down?
And you know, it's not the bandits. The people that kidnap these people are not regular bandits. These are Boko Haram. So
really?
we have absolutely. So we have
so bandits. We thought that there was a handshake between the bandits and
we have bandit, we have ISWAP, we have Ansaru, we have Dar es Salaam, we have IPOB, we have ESN, we have them all over. Our military is stretched all across, deployed to all the 36 states of this country. All the 36 states of this country.
But these guys that are at the center of it all, they are predominantly Boko Haram.
So they are, the people that took this train hostages were Boko Haram. They said it themselves. They said it themselves. So they are not, yes, there is some marriage or some between them, but these are purely Boko Haram. So the military has a lot of work to do, and they know it. And they are very strategic in the way they are doing things now, a lot more aggressive than they were previously. We begged them. We were literally holding the hands of the military, pleading with them, allow us to evacuate the last. Because from the outset, to the military and to the president and commander-in-chief, sending the military for rescue and sustaining what people call collateral damage of 60% of those people killed was not an option, neither for the president nor the military. They would allow the negotiator, we, the non-kinetic component, to be able to evacuate. And I applaud the president for his unwavering support and for his patience. And I remember I told you I'm one of the biggest critics. But this president, without his support, this operation would not have gotten.
So give us a sense, of what you make. One will perhaps think that the government has said, well, this is a signal of a terrorist network that is dying, that is frustrated, that is attacked on all sides, and that is why they are targeting soft target, and that is why they are doing what they are doing now. Is that the case?
What target can be softer than innocent travelers traveling on a train? There cannot be a softer target than this. None. So these are innocent travelers On the 28th of March, 8 were killed in cold blood. 63 were taken hostage. So what can be softer than this? So we are talking what's their name? Boko Haram and ISWAP in the northeast, feeling the heat of the military and are spreading and metastasizing across the country and trying to find niches. So you find them, and they are small. They are all over the place. It's not an army that they are facing. This is what they call a different kind of fight than what our military, conventional military, but they're getting better. Trust me, we'll get to them. It's just a matter of time. But I've said it before, and I will say it again. None of all these conflicts all across the 6 geopolitical zones will be won by the military alone. There's a role for the military. There is no military solution to any of these conflicts. Never in the history of warfare, none, have conflicts like this been won on the battlefield. That is where this template that the military allowed us to come in and the president gave his approval showed that you can marry the kinetic. And the military did not stop doing what they do best. The kinetic and the non-kinetic, marrying them together and get what we got.
Well, if the information and intelligence available to these foreign governments is anything to go by, it means that the insurgents, the Boko Haram network, had successfully moved down. They've come down south from the northeast region. What is the implication of that?
Right, so they are all over. So you have Boko Haram spilling here, and it's not that they come with their army, just a motley of them trying to do this, and then bandits going all over the place.
Are they coordinated?
Who, the Boko Haram? Yeah. Boko Haram has always been, and ISWAP has always been. But the bandits are all over the place. They are just a band of criminals without religious ideology, just wanting to do their criminality. What we have said consistently when we went into the forest, let's get to them before this Boko Haram come with their twisted religious ideology, marrying with these bandits that are motley, that the forest is their home, and they are fearless. We don't want to see that.
What can we do now?
What we need to do is, I think, intensification of the kinetic, marrying that with the non-kinetic.
Those who disagree and say, let us flush these guys out.
Right, well, then why didn't we do it over the last 13, 14, 50 years? We've been fighting Boko Haram. Like I said, banditry is what I know. I don't know Boko Haram, I don't know IPOP. Banditry is what I know. We've been to 8 states in this country. What we found out is banditry is essentially a social problem, not a military problem. The source of that cancer, I'm an oncologist, the primary of that cancer is in Zamfara, and it's spreading all over. And what we are going is going to the spread instead of going to the primary, which is Zamfara. We can only take care of banditry if we go back to Zamfara.
Professor Usman Yusuf, thank you so much indeed for your time and the insight that you shared tonight. Just before we go, let's tell you that a former spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Olisa Metu, today resigned from the People's Democratic Party. In a letter signed by the former PDP spokesperson, he says that he's quitting partisan politics, citing the need to contribute to nations building without a hindrance of partisanship. And that's how we end the program tonight. I must sincerely again give my salute to our gallant military officers in the security networks who are doing their best in keeping this nation safe. Keep on. Our nation will be better for it. Thank you so much indeed, everyone. God bless Nigeria.